From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Stepping up to help out.
I'm a big conservationist. I like to do whatever I can to improve the environment.
How one historic farm is helping lead the charge when it comes to conservation. As rumors swirl about Russia possibly trying to get support for its war effort from a neighbor.
There would be consequences for any such support.
Farmers and ag industry leaders in Ukraine face desperate times.
I woke up when I heard a huge explosion.
What are the chances crops will get planted in parts of Europe's breadbasket? We hear from someone who just escaped from the war-torn region right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's been 3 weeks since Russian bombs began falling on the country of Ukraine. Today, the Ukrainian president will take his request for more military support directly to Congress. Vladimir Zelensky will speak to the House and Senate today at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's the latest. Russia has stepped up its bombardment of Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine. An advisor to the Ukrainian president saying that the Ukrainian and Russian negotiators are discussing a ceasefire and Russian troops withdrawal during their latest talks, and that the talks are continuing. The International Organization for Migration says more than 3 million people have now fled Ukraine since Russia invaded last month. UN officials are calling it the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. One of those people who evacuated, Elena Nirova, a commodity analyst from Ukraine. In an exclusive interview with Ag Market Consulting, she talks about the frantic effort she made to evacuate the country with her son.
I woke up when I heard a huge explosion, and I just woke up my son, take a key from my car, and that's all. Set of documents, and that's all. We left country immediately. We spent almost 24 hours to get to the Ukrainian-Poland border.
Elena is now safe in Europe, but says several family members remain behind in Ukraine in shelters. As for farmers in the country, Elena says she believes they have enough seed and fertilizer, but the key problem is fuel. She's expecting a 30 to 35% cut in production this year if the war continues for another month.
Usually we start corn planting campaign in the mid of April. It depends on weather, but the window is from the mid-April till almost till the end of May. And if the war will stop, we will still have enough time to prepare for planting campaign for corn and sun seeds.
Elena says Ukraine consumes just 4% of what the country produces. All the rest is exported to the world and to key buyers such as India, China, and the EU. The USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack saying in a tweet that he had spoken to the Ukrainian ag minister and expressed that the U.S. stands with the people of Ukraine. There have been reports Russia had asked China for military assistance in the war effort, including drones as well as economic aid. Meanwhile, the U.S. and China held their first high-level talks since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and a Chinese Communist Party policy-making committee member met for 7 hours in Rome. The talks, described as substantial, but no specific outcomes were announced. The White House saying that if Beijing extends military or other aid to Russia in violation of U.S. and international sanctions, it will face, quote, significant consequences.
We have been very clear, both privately with Beijing, publicly with Beijing, that there would be consequences for any such support.
Now, Beijing is pushing back against the assertion that it's considering the Russian request for assistance, saying it's part of a U.S. disinformation campaign. Now, China insists its stance on Russia's invasion of Ukraine is impartial and constructive. But China is also dealing with other problems right now, a rising number of COVID cases and more lockdowns. It's causing oil prices to slide. Out of concern, the cases could threaten to disrupt manufacturing and trade, which would create more backlogs at Chinese export terminals and later add to supply chain issues here in the U.S. But There is some good news to report right now on the processing of all of those ships backlogged at West Coast ports. The Marine Exchange of Southern California reporting there are now 43 container ships in a backup off the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles. Now that's down from the peak of 109 back in January. The last time the number was in the 40s was in late August of last year. U.S. agricultural imports hit a new record in January. USDA says imports of ag products hit $15.7 billion. That's up more than $1 billion from December and set a fresh record. U.S. agricultural exports were at $15.88 billion. That's down $660 million from December. That adds up to a trade surplus of $179 million.
AgDay weather, brought to you by AGI Nico. AGI Nico dryers have an average of 1 to 2 pounds heavier test weight per bushel than screen dryers. They can also save you 30% on average in fuel savings. That's money in your pocket. Visit aggrowth.com/Nico for more information.
We're just a few days away from spring, and meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joins us. Matt, you're counting down the days and already talking about some spring rains.
Yeah, that's right. And the better news is only 4 days until spring officially gets going. It starts on Sunday, and that is some great news heading towards that spring season. It's almost time to get those crops in the ground towards planting season as well. So that'll be good. Now, there's still a lot of drought out there, especially in the West. And we've seen that over the past couple of months, really over the past at least 6 or 8 months out in the West. But the part that we really wanted to zoom in on was right in the middle part of the country. You've got Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, very, very important towards the farming industry. They are going to see more rain as we're heading towards really the second half of this 10-day period, when we're going to start to see more of that precipitation, more rain move in, and that should help to moisten up some of that ground as we get a little bit closer towards that planting season. And Jenna Beeman of Hamilton, Kansas, says her daughter, Georgia, is already on spring break. She says the 9-year-old trying to convince her mom that this kitten is house material. Looks like this kitten has found a home for sure. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Commodity markets are volatile right now. Up next, some strategies to manage them. And later, we travel to a farm that's been in the same family for centuries, and they're being celebrated for their dedication to conservation. That's today in the country. And you'll want to jump on right now. There's still time, but you only have until noon this Thursday to fill out your bracket in the 2022 Bracket Busters Challenge presented by Case IH. First place receives $1,000. Now, I've done mine. To get your bracket and learn more, head over to agweb.com and look for the Bracket Busters link. We caught up with Brian Doherty here at Commodity Classic Total Farm Marketing. Brian, as we talk about the volatility in the markets that we've seen, we have seen an absolute rodeo over the last couple of weeks. How do we handle this? How do we prepare to try to not only just take advantage, but make sure that we're protected here?
Yeah. So it's a double-sided coin.
Right.
You've got those who produce it and need to manage the inventory, and then you got those who use it and they need to manage what they want to buy. So both sides are managing inventory is what I call it. So from a producer perspective, the farmer perspective, in particular, as we look ahead to 2022's crop, we're near $6.50 on the board. That could be $8, $8.50. It could be $4.50. We don't know. So it's really about balancing that, making sure you're making good sales at right levels, covering those sales with the right tool. The right tool, talk to your advisor on. It could be a call option, a bull call spread, something that keeps you ownership of those grain bushels, because if prices go higher, you're going to want to sell more. Historically, people that start selling, they have a tendency to freeze when prices get better because they feel like they made a mistake. It's not a mistake. Make incremental sales, set targets, but balance that, and then look at buying puts if you're a producer to put a floor in the market, leave the top side open. End users should really heed the idea that corn world supplies could get really tight, especially if someone like China comes in and really starts to buy up U.S. corn. So make sure that as an end user, don't think it's high, it could get higher, cover it. Now once you own it, now you manage that inventory so you can buy a put against that. So whichever way the market goes, you're positioned.
Yeah.
It's a little technical, but it's doable, and that's how you need to manage this in this high volatile window.
And there's always, the chance that you're going to get in here and try to figure out what your input costs are going to be, and you've got to be able to stay above those input costs for sure as we go forward.
Oh, for sure. The biggest fear producers have is chasing the input market, and then prices tip over and they don't have much of anything sold. So doing nothing last year was the best strategy, could be the worst strategy this year. It's an extreme to do nothing. So think about how to push a pencil to it, manage it, and then put it into some sort of mathematical formula so you know where you sit no matter where the market goes.
All right, Brian, appreciate it. Thank you. Great advice. We'll be back with more AgDay coming up in just a minute.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779. Don't delay. Enter your bracket today to be part of the 2022 Bracket Busters Challenge presented by Case IH. First prize is $1,000, second is $500, and third walks away with $250. Head to AgWeb right now to fill out your bracket. AgDay weather is brought to you by Zoetis. Even though calves don't wait for perfect weather to arrive, you can count on Zoetis to be there. Share a picture of your newest calf and you could win a calving season survival kit. Enter now at calvingseason.com.
Meteorologist Matt Urasovic joining us here, taking a look at the jet stream. And Matt, as we look at this, really that system over the southeast shows up really well.
Oh yeah, it's been there the past couple of days. It's going to continue up the East Coast over the next few, and then our attention turns back to the west. As we head into the weekend, that's when the west will become more active, but again, still looking at the cutoff low here between Memphis, New Orleans. That's going to work its way up the East Coast as the jet stream kind of moves along with it. Another kind of dip here in the jet stream through Friday. That's going to bring a bigger system with more rain up here into the Great Lakes and into the Ohio Valley. Meanwhile, keeping it on the warm side back in the west, but still watching for another dip in that jet stream as we head through the second half of the weekend and into next week. A bigger system likely to bring more rain and mountain snow back to the west and then move its way across the country as we head into next week. As you can see, a big dip in the jet stream by the middle part of next week. So here's a look at those temperatures staying pretty mild, really right up through the middle part of the country. 80 in Amarillo later on this afternoon, 83 in San Antonio, and sitting at 84 in Miami. Now overnight, yes, it gets a little bit cooler, but staying relatively mild across the middle of the country. And again, more warmth coming out ahead of another system that's going to be moving our way, bringing some rain as we head into the weekend, where we're going to be looking at temperatures ahead of that in the 60s and 70s. Behind that could be in the 40s and low 50s, especially as we head towards the weekend. So here's a look at our map right now, dealing with that, again, cutoff low, that system spinning over the south and the east. High pressure, though, around that is kind of keeping it in place over the past couple of days. And then just a few systems back there in the Rockies, bringing some higher elevation snow on the lighter side, though. Eventually that system in the mid-Atlantic states gets on out of here, and we've got this one here that is going to develop with some rain in places that could really use that rain. So most of the rain over the next couple of days right here in the southeast, but then we'll start to bring more of that, especially into the center and up towards the Great Lakes as well, bringing more higher elevation snow along with that. And you can kind of see that right here. Here comes that snow down the Rockies, and then could see some snow on the northern side of that system heading up into the upper Midwest, heading into the weekend and the early part of next week. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Somerville, South Carolina, cloudy with showers, a high of 70 degrees. Sunny and mild in Joplin, Missouri, a high of 71. And back to Modesto, California, increasing sunshine, a high of 72.
Why farmers may need more than one plan to battle weeds this season. We'll have details coming up next on Weed Wednesday. And later, conservation and land stewardship aren't an overnight decision. It's a mindset followed year after year. Meet a farm family with centuries of experience in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Authority Supreme Herbicide from FMC. Learn more at ag.fmc.com.
Post-emergent herbicide supplies can be harder to find this year. That means making a new plan and possibly taking a new approach to weed management this year. Retailers at Commodity Classic tell me supply issues have shown up across the board. This season, that means staying flexible and coming up with a plan A, a plan B, or even a plan C. Weed experts say farmers may end up using some products for the first time in years or the first time ever. They say it's important to do your research and be sure what you're using will be effective in controlling the right weeds at the right times. This might be the year to lean more heavily on soil-applied pre-emergent products.
And from the standpoint of, hey, we can start out with a good kind of foundation program, and then that'll help us kind of not rely so heavily on some of those post-emergence herbicides that are going to be probably in short supply this year.
I mean, we're telling customers, 21 days after planting, we need to have that we need to have that residual post-application out there, because we can't rely on trying to clean it up like we have in the past.
These experts say spraying any additional breakthrough weeds early, while just an inch up to 4 inches tall, will help keep weeds in check while maximizing the effectiveness of the post-emergent pass. True stewardship of a farm isn't a single-year project. Up next, meet an American family that's been doing it now for centuries. We're off to Delaware in the country.
Find farm equipment on Machinery Pete's March 22nd online auction. No reserve, no buyer fees. Start bidding now at auctions.machinerypete.com. The American Soybean Association Conservation Legacy Awards are brought to you by Valent. Valent USA offers proven crop protection solutions to help growers achieve a more sustainable, profitable operation. Visit valent.com to learn more.
The goal of conservation and land stewardship is to protect the farm for future generations. Well, today's American Soybean Association Regional Conservation Legacy Award winner is doing just that. Greer Staten of Lincoln, Delaware, shares his conservation story, centuries in the making. Not many American farmers can say they have land that's been in the family since the 1600s. But Greer Staten is proud of his family's agricultural longevity in Delaware and attributes its success to the family's detailed attention to conservation and water management.
My father was farming this, and I never knew a year where he didn't plant a cover crop, and that's long before the big push came about. He planted rye back then. I just have always thought that was a great idea.
Staten continues that practice every fall on his 295 acres by either an aerial or ground spreader. And about 3/4 of his tillable ground is irrigated with 4 center pivot systems. He raises corn, soybeans, and alfalfa, and adds that wheat, milo, and lima beans have been grown on the farm in the past.
We have an abundance of groundwater here and no issue with putting a well in and tapping into that aquifer. So that's not the case all over. I understand that. I don't over-irrigate, try to monitor exactly what the crop need is.
Staten sees fuel savings through no-till and minimum till planting, given fewer trips across the fields. In addition to cover crops, nutrient management in drainage ditches is achieved through best practices that include annual soil testing, use of manure storage sheds, a setback for manure storage, and how the manure is spread. While maintaining year-round crops is critical to Staten's conservation plans, so also is management of the 100 acres of wooded property for wildlife.
We're losing a lot of woods around Delaware. There's a lot of development pressure, and that's really a big part of why I have such deer pressure, because this is a haven for them.
Son Nicholas didn't grow up on the farm, but views himself as an apprentice and is learning as much as he can from his dad.
I provide support, moral support, levity, and mostly just brute strength. For the most part, I'm there to add extra hands, help out with the labor as best I can.
With generations of farming history and a 13th generation now on the farm, the Statens see their conservation efforts as a critical part of their legacy.
I'm very proud of the farm, the farming history of the family, and I'd like to see it keep going. I'm a big conservationist. I like to do whatever I can to improve the environment. I want to leave it in better shape than when I found it.
And we'll introduce you to another finalist tomorrow morning. That's going to wrap us up with our time here on Ag Day. From all of us here, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in farm country.
The American Soybean Association Conservation Legacy Awards are brought to you by Valent. Valent USA offers proven crop protection solutions to help growers achieve a more sustainable, profitable operation. Visit valent.com to learn more.